Genghis Khan is dead. The river has washed his bones for a century. His empire stands in turmoil. A dozen Mongol dynasties have risen from the ashes of the great Khan's dream. As they war among themselves, a new power will emerge. From a leaderless Khanate, there will come a man with half a body, yet a terror in war. He would make the hoofbeats of the Mongol horde thunder across the steppe once more. From China to Egypt, from Moscow to Delhi, a single Khanate shall again rule as empire under him. He is Tamerlane, Khan of Transoxana, founder of the Timurid dynasty and restorer of the Mongol Empire. This is his story. Hello and welcome to the Historical Humans podcast. My name is Justin Woods and I'm joined today by my fellow co-hosts Colum Coleman and Aaron Gilpin. And today we are talking of a yet another continuation of our glorious Khan series, where we are talking about yet another continuation of the dynasty and lineage of Genghis the Khan.
Yeah.
Genghis the Khan.
Yeah. Yeah. This is yeah.
I love the Khan series. They're always so much fun.
I keep looking for the pros, but all I'm seeing are the cons.
Khan!
Yeah, but yeah, bad puns aside, we've done two podcasts already on the cons and all the things that Genghis does and spawns into the world, from his conquests to Kublai Khan in China to all sorts of things. And well, we felt that this man here, Tamerlane, this sort of dark horse resurgence of the Mongolian Empire, deserved a bit of a closer look, because he is a somewhat unique figure in history, being the Mongol lord outside Mongolia.
Yes, because he was brought up around Uzbekistan, right?
Yep, he is from what is now Uzbekistan, which, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we do mention is, I believe, one of the last places to have a descendant of Genghis Khan as its ruler. Was deposed in the early 20th century, but still counts.
Wow, 20th century is not that long ago.
Yeah, Soviet Union took him out.
God damn it! Why is it always the Soviets?
Yeah.
Well, they kind of get what's coming to them.
Yeah, Timur will take vengeance here. Our friend here, Tamerlane, he will take vengeance for the death of the last Mongol Khan. But before he can do that, he has to live and die. And he's got a pretty good lifespan on him at a wonderful 69 years.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah. Lived from 1336 to 1405. And he founded the Timurid Empire in 1370. And that empire would last until 1507. So it would last 100 years after his death.
Oh,
which is halfway decent for a lot
better than like Alexander.
Yeah, Alexander lasted, how many days was it before someone kidnapped his body?
32.
Yeah, lasted 1 month. 1 month there. But Tamerlane, our lovely friend here, he was born Timur. He was not known as Tamerlane for a good portion of his life. Timur is not a Mongol name, but a Turkic name, meaning iron. So he was being set up for success psychologically from an early age here.
Okay.
He's meant to be tough as nails. Tamerlane is a title he got in the 1380s because he makes enemies of the Persians. And the Persians thought it was really cool to make fun of this guy.
Oh.
Running around as a Mongol warlord while being physically disabled.
Wow, that wasn't really woke of. Yeah, not really woke of them.
they nickname him
The
Tamerlane.
face Justin's making if you are a listener.
Yeah, they nickname him Tamerlane, which was Persian for Timur the Lame, because he couldn't walk.
Oh my god. So they were bullying a disabled man.
Yep.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. See, like I said,
Yeah.
he's just dark woke.
Yep. In his 20s,
They're
in,
like 14th century dark woke.
yeah. Yeah. In his 20s, he was injured in battle and lost the use of his right leg and his right hand.
Ooh.
Did
This man does
not
not stop.
slow him down.
This is an amazing story.
He
Like
is the Black Knight from Monty Python.
Yeah.
Tis only a flesh
what
wound.
he's so like he succeeds at it.
Yeah.
He falls upward.
Yeah.
Like either like if he was like if you've ever seen like Black Clover, this man is Asta in a physical form, but like much more spiteful
Yeah.
and really and really likes to prove a point.
Yeah. No, he is going to be very self-interested, very intelligent, and arguably the most vicious man of the 14th century.
That's wow.
That's a contender.
That's a really high bar.
Yeah, this man understood the assignment of reinvent the Mongol Empire, and he's gonna take it to a whole new level.
Dude just sitting
I'm
there like,
going.
I'm a descendant of Genghis? Okay.
Yeah, let's begin.
Literally. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I know what I'm gonna do today.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. One of the good things that he does
Good things.
between all the killings, that's important to mention here at the beginning, is he establishes what's known as the Timurid architectural style, which is a sort of Islamic style of building that focuses very highly on the color blue. It looks
Oh
very
yeah.
much like a giant porcelain house, with that white and blue fine china kind of aesthetic to it. A lot of turquoise, a lot of azure.
Probably
This is
got
because
lapis lazuli coming in from
yeah,
Afghanistan.
lapis lazuli. This is because the places he is making war on have an abundance of blue gemstones and white marble.
Lapis lazuli has been from like specifically comes from Afghanistan because it's one of like the regions that like few regions in the world that has it. Like we that's been coveted since like ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Like
just a Minecraft
ancient
material.
Egypt.
Yeah. Oh, and he will craft with it. He also redefined some architectural features, very high domes,
I don't know.
very intricate mosaics. Recover from the pun, Aaron. Recover from the pun.
No, sorry. What I was thinking about was this man, like Hama, right? Like he is like the
Uh-oh.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a lot. There's a lot of it's a lot going in here, and the big example of this is actually his own mausoleum in his capital city of Samarkand, which, despite everyone knowing he's in there, no one will mess with for about 600 years.
That's a pretty big sign of respect, too.
Or fear. It's a lot of fear.
What's a little fear here and there,
A lot of fear. Yeah.
okay there. Well, anyway, what I was gonna say before I explode just disappeared. Because I have a very unstable internet connection. I find it hilarious that this homicidal man, right, killing everything, but is also really has an eye for architecture.
Yeah, it's just really, really missed his calling.
Yeah,
He's just he's like, give me any more bubkiss and I'm gonna put you in this wall.
Oh no.
I'm gonna make art out of you.
Yeah. Yeah, he was Yeah, this man was not he was not okay, but like he really could have benefited from just being normal for 5 minutes.
But was he like kicked out of architecture school or something like
Oh
that?
no, Aaron.
Uh, nah, see, his origin story is actually a lot more cunning and a lot worse than that.
Oh
Um,
god.
yeah,
Even worse, he was an art school dropout.
No.
no. What he is he's a member of the Turkicized Barlas, which is a Mongol tribe that lived in Uzbekistan nominally under what's called the Chagatai Khanate. We go into Chagatai a bit in our Great
Oh,
Khans
yeah.
video, but what's relevant here is that Chagatai was one of the sons of Genghis Khan and kind of represents a sort of east-west split within the
Uh,
Mongol dynasty after Genghis Khan's death,
a
with
classic
Kublai
rum.
ruling the Mongolian and Chinese parts, and Chagatai ruling everything else that they conquered. And at this point, the sons of Genghis Khan are dead, and all the smaller little Khanites that they nominally controlled technically pay homage, but don't. Uh, Mongolia is what you would call heavily embroiled in infighting. All the Mongol provinces war with each other. Doesn't matter if you're all technically on the same Great Khan side. Where it's not a unified polity. It's a matter of might makes right, and you're proving that you're strong by hurting your friends.
Look, I know he had more kids than pretty much anyone in human history, but that doesn't mean all the Khanites need to fight like siblings.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they'll
No,
fight
did he
a
even
lot
have
worse.
enough land to distribute with how many kids he had?
Yeah,
Well, that's why he had to conquer half the world.
yeah,
Very
yeah,
self-fueling cycle there.
yeah. Now, early in Tamerlane's life, his little Khanite, called Transoxania, is under grave threat. In 1357, Amir Kazgan, Khan of Transoxania, dies. And Transoxania's neighbor, the Kashgar Khanite, invades. And they are led by this man called Tughlaq. His full name's Tughlaq Timur. And Tamerlane does what is called a surprise move.
A pro
He
gamer strike.
backs the invader.
Oh,
He says, Tughlaq, the Khan of Transoxia is dead. None of those who have come forth to claim his heir are worthy. You are the strong Khan. Allow me to be your servant in this land.
oh, so he just sucked up to the guy.
Yeah. And like an idiot, Tughlaq agrees.
That was a hell of a persuasion check.
Yeah. He, in 1361, the Kashgar take Samarkand, the capital of Transoxania, and Tughlaq makes his son Ilyas Koja Khan of Transoxania, with Tamerlane as Koja's minister.
Oh.
Minister is a position that goes all the way back to Genghis Khan, and it's basically the guy who actually runs your empire while you are off warlording everything.
Like a vizier, right?
Yeah, like a vizier or um a quartermaster on a ship. You have authority almost equal to that of the captain, except when fighting breaks out, at which point you shut up.
Yeah, okay. Because you're
Not a
basically
bad
saying, I'm
position.
here to keep you guys alive.
Yeah. And Tamerlane almost immediately abandons his new position.
Yeah.
And this is where it becomes blatantly obvious that Tughlaq should never have trusted a word that came out of Tamerlane's mouth. Because Tamerlane takes his forces that are loyal to him, which have all survived the invasion unscathed by virtue of immediate capitulation. And he runs to his brother-in-law, a man named Amir Hussein, who is the grandson of Kazgan, the man who died in 1357, opening up the position of Khan of Transoxania. He was the brother-in-law to the king's heir, and he was siding with the invader. It's like, yes, I will betray my brother for you. Hey, brother, I got the door. Everyone in. Come on.
I mean, when you're conniving for power, everything and anything's on the table.
True, that is how they
That's
operate.
what you
That's
guys
how
don't seem to understand about those who are trying to aspire for power is the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
Justin's trying to justify his D&D character.
Yeah. Now, Hussein receives Tamerlane, who at this point, for at least 4 years, has actively been backstabbing him by backing Tugluck the invader. And he decides, you know what? Sure, let us retake our homeland together. And then I will rule as Khan and you will be my minister.
This is like the I'm playing both sides, so that way I always come out on top.
This guy is really trying to say he's in Game of Thrones and is really trying to play his part.
Yeah,
Game of Thrones, I think it doesn't have a character even close to this, I think.
the Littlefinger.
Yeah, I was gonna say Peter Dinklage seems like a pretty good.
Oh, I haven't seen like actual Game of Thrones. So
Peter Dinklage is Tyrion the Imp. Littlefinger is
Peter Baelish.
Peter Baelish. Yeah. Although that's terrifying now. Peter Dinklage as Littlefinger. That's so wrong. That's so wrong.
It's fascinating, and I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say I don't think Tamerlane's gonna be honest to his word. I think he's gonna betray more people.
I mean,
we haven't gotten to the point where he named himself Khan yet.
Yeah, no, but together they defeat Ilash Koja in 1364, and by 1366, Hussein and Tamerlane have reconquered Transoxania. And it doesn't take long for Tamerlane to turncoat once again.
Called it.
In 1370, he turns on Hussein and besieges Hussein in Hussein's stronghold of Balkh, which I believe became Hussein's stronghold after he was forced to flee Samarkand when Tugluck invaded.
Oh no.
And thus, Tamerlane has, strong support in Samarkand, and Hussein has strong support in Balkh. And Tamerlane just puts Balkh to siege, uses that initiative to, kind of pin everyone down. And during this siege, Hussein is assassinated. He's likely murdered by his own people in an effort for they themselves to not die when Tamerlane inevitably gets in.
That's some faith.
I like how they treat it like an inevitability.
I was gonna say that's some faith in the usurper, where you're like, this guy's good. Like, he's real good. We should get on his good side before we're not.
Yeah. When he is presented with the death and defeat of his brother-in-law, unclear what Tamerlane's sister felt about this whole arrangement, seeing as how he just had her husband murdered. He declares himself Khan of Transoxania under the Chagatai line, because everyone has to tie themselves back not to Genghis Khan for legitimacy, but to whichever of Genghis Khan's sons technically ruled your region as your legitimacy. So he claims he's, I am clearly a descendant of Chagatai. I'm the Khan of Transoxania. by virtue of blood and fire.
Which works.
And I declare, as proof of this, that I shall be the restorer of the Mongol Empire. Because, let's be honest, we're fighting over the gap between a couple of rivers, and we've been doing that for the last 13 years. It's time for a change.
Yay.
The rest of the world will not like this change.
I will show the world change.
Yep. So, ironically, for the first 10 years of Tamerlane's rule as Khan, 1370 to 1380, this change does not materialize at all. He instead wages war against the Khans of Jata and Khwarazm. Jata was Eastern Turkestan, and Khwarazm was half Uzbekistan, half Turkmenistan, kind of, molding the two together into one, kind of conjoined area that is now the border that divides these two countries.
Mhm.
And he occupies Kaskar, the seat of the original Khan that invaded Transoxania and started this whole domino effect of Tamerlane seizing power. He takes that city in 1380, thus ending his retaliatory period.
This is just the retaliatory period.
This is just him going around to all the Khans that border Transoxania and may or may not have backed up and systematically eliminating them.
Good for him.
I mean, it works, but like also, damn.
Yeah.
But I guess he's also like, if I'm doing this, I can't let anyone else do this.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'm imagining that he probably was like, I gotta make sure nobody else does this, because if they do this, man, are they fucked up.
Right, right. Like, man, who would be awful enough to try this?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. This also opens the door for him to prove that title he gave himself in 1370 as restorer of the Mongol Empire. So far, he's just been a Mongol killing other Mongols, which is what the Mongols have done since time immemorial.
Right.
This is not a great empire of the Mongols. But
this is just like Tuesday.
Yeah, this is just more of the same. These conquests do mean he has a much more direct access to Russia, which is huge for him. Because, as restorer of the Mongol Empire, not only must you be stronger than the other Khans, but when they are in need and need some help, enforcing their claims, you must be the one that ensures those claims are enforced. And it just so happens that in the court of Tamerlane is a man named Tokhtamesh, Khan of Crimea. And Tokhtamesh has been forced out by, shall we say, indigenous uprisings.
Even then, the Ukrainians didn't like to be occupied.
I don't blame them. It doesn't sound fun.
Yeah. The reason Tokhtamesh has been kicked out is because Tokhtamesh is a Khan that pays tribute to another Khan, a man by the name of Mumai, who is the Khan of the Golden Horde, which rules Russia. And Mumai is terrible at his job. I'm just going to put it out there bluntly. Mumai should not be Khan. Because
I mean,
kind of a hard role to
right?
Yeah.
How do you fuck up being a Khan? I mean, really.
So What Mumai does is he mismanages his Khanate to the point where the Russians in Moscow openly rebel against him.
Oh.
And he demands that his subservient Khans in Ukraine and Lithuania and Poland send their armies to crush it for him, which they do. And while they're gone, the Poles and Lithuanians and Ukrainians realize that 3/4 of the Mongol army that has been oppressing them is off dying leagues away.
That's an oof.
And so they all rebel, and the entire territory of the Golden Horde just falls into rebellion.
Yeah.
And they lose Crimea completely, which is why Toktamish is hiding out in Uzbekistan with Tamerlane, asking for help.
It's like, guys, quick, the Khan's gone. Let's rebel.
Yeah. So Tamerlane says, you know what? I've got much easier access into Russia and Eastern Europe now. Let's do this. Proceeds to annihilate the Lithuanian army at Poltava. And he corners the Russians in Moscow, where he promises very, very nicely that if they send out, basically everyone and open the gate and bow to Mumai and give everything back, that he will not kill everyone who has ever shared a room with them. The Russians are forced to surrender.
I'm honestly amazed they even did surrender, just knowing how Russians tend to be.
Well, they were trapped, and at this time, Russia's goal is to hold the Principality of Moscow at all costs. And so they're kind of forced to capitulate. It's surrender or die. And they choose to live to fight another day for the most part. And I think most part should be taken quite literally here, because this is still a Mongol warlord. Someone's dying.
Yeah, true.
But he restores Toktamish to Crimea. He ends this wave of rebellions against the Golden Horde. He is the restorer of the Mongol Empire, because what other Khan would do this for another Khan that he wasn't, that didn't have a knife to his throat? Tamerlane's doing this voluntarily.
Yeah, he's just like, yeah, I just want to do it.
What's your motive, Tamer boy?
Yeah. Now, what he's hoping for is that Toktamish and a lot of the Khans under the Golden Horde will acknowledge his claim as a great Khan and kind of pay him the lip service that everyone paid Chagatai, where, we acknowledge you as supreme. Here's some nice stuff if you happen to stop by. Fuck off. That kind of general of, yes, you are great. Have something shiny, and please don't come near me. That's kind of what he's hoping for, because he needs the prestige. He's from a small Khanate. And with this victory, he decides that he's going to take on Persia.
A classic move.
Yep. 1383, he launches his invasion, and he starts to challenge Alexander the Great for the speed run of the Persian Empire. He takes Herat the same year that he launches his campaign, which was a major city. And Persia at this time is ripe for the taking. A man named Abu Said died in 1335. and the Persians haven't had unified governance since. It's been almost 50 years, and they're still in disarray. Ironically enough, Abu Sa'id was the last Mongol of what was known as the Ilkhanate dynasty, which were the Persian Mongols. Meaning that for the first time in over a century, invading Persia does not mean fighting another Mongol Khan. It means adding territory to the Mongol Empire.
It's on, motherfuckers. It's on.
I shall reclaim our ancient birthright of Persia, which we have had since yesterday.
Chuck's notes.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, in 2 years, he's got Khorasan and all of Eastern Persia. 1385 is a very strong year for him. And by 1394, just, 11 years into this war, he has taken Fars, Iraq, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Mesopotamia, and Georgia. And he does it all while fighting a multi-front war with everyone else.
Some
He
people just
just
make it look
can't
easy.
do it all.
Yeah, some people just make it look easy.
They're like,
Yeah.
you can't have it all. And he goes, why? Why can't I? The world has already taken from me 3 limbs.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what happens is in 1385, when he's taken half of Persia in 2 years, Toktamish, his buddy from the Khan of Crimea here, realizes that he's just unleashed a monster. And that if left unchecked, the Golden Horde will not be paying lip service to a great Khan. They will be bowing to one. And so the Golden Horde betrays Tamerlane and launches an invasion of against the Timurid army at Azerbaijan. And by 1388, they've invaded his homeland of Transoxania all the way in Uzbekistan.
Oh, wow.
This is something that Tamerlane is more than happy to let you do, because no invading army shall leave alive.
I mean, understandable. It's pretty effective.
Yeah. In 1391, while he's invading Mesopotamia and Georgia and all these other places, he does a 180 and defeats Toktamish in battle and dethrones him as Khan. He takes his Khanite from him.
Ooh, so he's just collecting them all like Pokemon cards.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Toktamish is able to flee into the Russian steppe, and being at war with Persia, Tamerlane can't pursue him. He's just one man. What could go wrong? Apparently a lot, because as much as Toktamish is on the losing end of everything that he gets involved in, he shares in Tamerlane's fighting spirit. This man does not give up. This man does not accept setbacks.
Can't lose if you're always winning.
Yep. Yep. In 1395, just 1 year after Tamerlane has finished his conquest of Persia and established himself as like the first Khan in almost a century to expand the Mongol Empire, Toktamish comes over the Caucasus Mountains with a new army.
Oh no.
Which Tamerlane proceeds to smash at the Battle of the Kur River and decides to just straight up invade Moscow and occupy it, because this is getting out of hand. gets to Moscow, sacks it, takes the city, leaves it after a year, decides it's not worth holding.
Hmm.
Yeah, the man has a lot of disdain for Russia.
I mean, he probably got there, realized the winters were far, far too cold, and that they weren't for him.
Yeah. And his main reason for leaving it is, one, he doesn't really make any effort to hold the territory, and two, he gets news of rebellions in Persia, because Persia, having been conquered for all of 2 years at this point, really isn't interested in being back under Mongol rule.
Oh, but
Fair,
it's so
fair.
much fun.
I don't think it is. At least not Tamerlane's.
He's
Yeah.
not the worst Mongol emperor out there, though.
We didn't say worst.
But
Worst?
this is where he earns his reputation for brutality. He will accept invasion. He will accept conquest. What he will not accept is the ingratitude of rebellion.
Oof.
And since his absences dealing with his fellow Khans, results in a lot of rebellions in Persia, Persia learns to suffer.
That just sucks though. Like,
Yeah.
damn.
Oh, it really
It's like
sucks.
you just have to learn to suffer. Like,
Yeah. He establishes a zero strikes policy, during which, if your city is considered rebellious, he will encircle it, burn it to the ground with everyone inside, dismantle every single stone edifice, kill everyone from the oldest man to the newest babe, and stack their skulls in mountains, so that anyone who comes by looking for this city at any point afterwards knows that this city stood against Tamerlane, and this is the price.
That's brutal.
He does this repeatedly. And
how many times? Like, is this like like a once a month at this point? Well, I guess not once a month
it
because sieges take forever, but like once a year kind of thing.
he does it multiple times between 1396 and mid 1398. It's I don't have an exact number, but it is a repeated offense. The reason he stops in 1398 is because he has to leave for his invasion of India, which India is a long sought after prize by the Mongol Empire. The Mongolians have always wanted to claim it, but they've never been able to. There are only like 3 countries on Earth that were consistently able to repel Mongol invasions, and India was one of them, and it was the biggest and the richest. The other 2 were Japan.
Oh, right. The
And
tsunamis took it out, right?
Which used
Or
basically
hurricanes?
Godzilla.
No, I thought it was
Yeah,
hurricanes.
it was 2 hurricanes. So basically
Yeah, because
Godzilla.
there was 2 separate invasions, right?
Yeah, 2 invasions, both get within sight of the Japanese shore, and then die to hurricanes.
Twice.
Yeah, twice in a row.
Yikes.
That's embarrassing.
That's just bad luck.
Yeah, and the third country was Mamluk Egypt.
Oh, now
Which,
that's a really shocking one.
yeah, they I don't really know how, but it appears to have mostly been a lot of just virtue of being at the edge of Mongol reach, and the Ilkhanids primarily having to deal with the internal problems of running the Persians. Persians are not easy to manage. They do
Yeah,
not
because
like outside influence at all.
they usually are the managers.
Yeah. And so
They're
it's
like,
like,
hold on a second.
Hey, these Persians don't even listen to the Persians. What the heck?
yeah,
You Persians sure are contentious people.
yeah,
You made an enemy for life.
yeah. They keep bringing me rugs, guys. It needs to stop. I haven't seen the floor in years.
I don't even have carpeting. It's just all rugs.
Although in
Uh,
my defense, they're Afghani rugs. They're not Persian.
yeah. Anyway, um, he has a Tamerlane has a very interesting justification for the war in India. Um, Now, his pretext was religious tolerance.
Dark woke again.
Yeah. Namely, that the Sultan of Delhi, a Islamic ruler of a largely Hindu population, was showing too much religious tolerance to the Hindu.
Oh.
They've had it
And
too good for too long.
yeah,
Oh no. Wait, is
yeah.
this where like all that bad blood starts?
This is where a lot of bad blood comes from. And it all starts because, keep in mind, Tamerlane here, he's got a Turkic name. He's a, you know, he's a Turkicized Khan. He's a Muslim Khan. And he enforces religious law, meaning be Muslim or die. That is mostly his interpretation. And for like 90% of his empire, it's not a problem because he's waging war in other Islamicized countries.
Hold on us.
He's fighting in, Iraq. He's fighting in Afghanistan. He's fighting in Uzbekistan. These are all Muslim countries. So the population is already Muslim. And he decides that having a religiously tolerant neighbor is apparently
Bad
too
for
much to
business?
handle.
I mean, that makes sense considering he ruled over Persia, and Iran still considers that to be their modern day political stance.
Yeah,
Wait,
it's
really?
there's a lot of
Hmm.
there's a lot of messed up shit going on. But anyway, he crosses the Indus River and proceeds to destroy everything, keeping in pace with his "I'm definitely not the reincarnation of Alexander the Great." As he crosses it, and he doesn't try to take anything. He doesn't try to hold territory. This is not a war of conquest. This is something the British would later imitate, and is otherwise known as punitive raiding, where someone offends you, so you sneak into their country and set everything on fire.
What? That's just plundering.
Yeah. Yeah. He levels the city of Delhi as a message to the sultans. It would be a century before the city recovers from just the architectural damage that he does. He literally dismantles their monuments, hauls the stones back to Samarkand, and builds a mosque.
Ooh. Little little sacrilege, I guess.
And he does this all in less than a year.
Oh wow.
He goes from the middle of the Persian Empire putting down rebellions to the city of Delhi, wages a war, annihilates the city, and hauls its architecture back to his capital within 12 months.
This man was really just a huge fan of architecture and just different art styles.
He's like, fine, they won't give me the materials. I will take the materials.
Yeah. He does. he is not okay. And he is really showing it because he's mad. He's mad. He gets angry in his later years because he is how old would he
I,
be at this point? 1398. He's like 63.
yeah,
Jeez.
he's probably devolved into paranoia at this point.
Yeah. He's 63 and he's been crippled since he was like 25. So this man's been living with chronic pain for almost 40 years.
Oh yeah, that's
Truly
gonna
an
take a
everyman's
toll.
hero.
Yeah.
And every man?
Yeah.
Every man.
Every man deals with his own demons and pains. Just how you counter it.
I think he is the demon.
Yeah, no, he's he there's nothing holy about that man.
All right, Sympathy for the Devil will now play in the background whenever Justin shows up.
Hey now.
Uh, but yeah, 1399 is going to see him wage his final campaign. It's going to be the last war he fights, which is ironically another punitive raid.
Of
This time,
course.
this time against one of Mongolia's other most ancient and resilient enemies, Mamluk Egypt.
Yes.
Uh, because the Sultan of Egypt and the Ottoman Sultan, a man named Bayezid I, had encroached on his territory. They had invaded Azerbaijan. And he quickly retakes Azerbaijan and then proceeds to invade Syria, which at this time was not a part of Persia. I believe it was technically a part of Egypt because Mamluk Egypt is doing pretty dang well for itself right now. And he just sacks Aleppo, defeats the Mamluk army, and by 1401, he is sitting in his newly captured city of Damascus,
All right.
which he proceeds to deport its entire population.
Ooh. Why's it always got
Um,
to default to deportations?
yeah. Only instead of sending them back to their country, because that's where they are, he instead sends them back to his as,
Oh.
shall we say, skilled labor to beautify and glorify his capital of Samarkand.
It's just slavery with fancy wording.
Ironically, it is the only way that these people get to live. And doing this puts Damascus into an irreversible decline from which it has never recovered.
Oh.
As this sees Damascus drop off as a trade hub, as a place of artistic innovation and creation. Damascus, this is the death of Damascus. And he doesn't even have to kill people to do it. Progression.
Dark woke indeed.
Yeah. Same year, he conquers Baghdad. And he decides to show the people of Damascus just how nice he was while he's in Baghdad by rounding up about 20,000 people and killing them and systematically tearing down every monumental structure in the city. Also known as a repeat of what happened at Delhi.
He really does like to do a sequel.
Yeah. At this point,
Or doing a sequel.
the Egyptians are backing off. They are fleeing back into Egypt proper, and they are not coming out. So he turns his attention on the Ottomans. He invades Anatolia. He invades what's now Turkey, wins the Battle of Ankara in 1402, and proceeds to celebrate his victory by attacking the Byzantine Empire. He has zero reason to do this.
I mean, I mean, to be fair, he is ruling all of Persia, and there's nothing more Persian than having beef with the Romans. It is the Byzantines, but also still continuation and
Yeah.
whatnot.
He does this by taking the city of Smyrna from the Knights of Rhodes. The Knights of Rhodes are a Christian crusading holy order whose whole existence is to basically enforce safe passage for Christian pilgrims to and from Jerusalem and periodically murder all the non-Christians there.
Oh,
So
right,
this is
yeah.
a militant organization. This is the first like extra national military.
Extra national. That's an interesting term.
Yeah. They will become the Knights of Malta, which is a holy order that remains to this day.
I thought those were the
And
Hops. No, the Knights of Hospital are still around too, right?
I believe so. The Hospitaller Knights still
But they're not on
exist,
Malta.
but they're not the Maltesian ones. The Knights of Hospitaller were a little more chill.
Yeah.
The Knights of Rhodes / Malta were kind of the first boots on the ground, last boots out order for the Crusades. And
Didn't they eventually get kicked out of Rhodes?
yeah, they get kicked
And
out of
that's
Rhodes
why
by
they
the
became Malta.
Ottomans, and that's why they become the Knights of Malta, because the Christians give them Malta to continue their holy war.
Yeah, the Spanish like saved their asses, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot going on there. But the only reason they get attacked is because Tamerlane sees Smyrna and thinks, "Oh yeah, that's a strategic point.
Gimme.
I think I'll have it."
I mean, he's not wrong. That is a very strategic point. Like that literally is what opens up Anatolia
Yeah.
and or the Levant.
Yep. And so he just takes it and decides, cool, this is a nice cornerstone for my empire. Thank you. Proceeds to make peace with Egypt and Byzantium and does an absolute snubbing of the Ottomans by just basically intentionally conflating them with the Byzantine Empire.
Don't you understand? We're speaking the same, like a very similar language. Yeah, it's all Greek to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, it's just like, yeah, yeah, you're all Latins. What the hell are you talking about? You're
We're
all just these
Mus.
weird. It's like you're these weird people. Go away. He is
It's
not.
like I don't associate with you. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
It might as well be Greek.
yeah, and it is pretty funny. He just the disrespect he shows the Ottomans in this whole thing, and by 1404, he's back in Samarkand. He has won yet another war. He has once again proven himself that he can defeat, even if he can't take their territory, he can defeat two of the three great enemies of the Mongol Empire, Egypt and India. He has bested them both on the field of battle, even if he does not rule their lands. So naturally, he's got to get to Japan. And to get to Japan, he's got to reunify the split that occurred when Genghis Khan died, and one of his sons took over China and Mongolia, and the other one took over everything else.
So he's gonna take on. It's like it. He's basically gonna take on the East.
Yep. In 1405, he prepares to march on China.
Well, you never start a land war in Asia.
Yep. Fortunately, it seems Allah has other plans for this man, as he falls ill during his march to China, dies, and the whole thing basically gets called off.
Okay, but like imagine if like because one of the things that's like interesting about China is how like the Abrahamic religions have ended up there because they've all ended up there in so many like in a surprising amount of ways that's not conquest. Because it's not like try. A few times they've tried. Um, but like I know like Judaism, or like at least with Judaism, there was a trade. There was like in the 1400s, um, there was like a merchant. There were merch. It was like a one of the Jewish populations from Spain, and a lot of times they would be associated with merchants, and they would go through like all of like the Islamic world and as far all the way out to China, which is one of the trade routes that Marco Polo would later go on, right? And the same thing like Islam is trading like trade in Southeast Asia or at least in Polynesia, I think, or Indonesia. I think Indonesia. But then like Christianity just comes like
Like,
way later.
yeah, Malaysia or something. Yeah.
Actually, no,
Christian.
because Kublai Khan's mother was a Christian. She was a Catholic.
Yeah, yeah, the Christians marry into some of the cons, and that's how they get over there.
It's so interesting to me.
Yeah, yeah, it's really fun. And if you were paying attention to your definitely not Alexander the Great bingo card, we have dying while plotting to invade someone else.
Literally.
uh, but his body is not abducted. It is instead returned to Samarkand and buried in the tomb that he himself had built, Guri Amir. And his territory is divided between his two surviving sons and all of his grandsons. As you can imagine, this sparks a massive civil war, which
Gee.
also fits on our Alexander the Great bingo card of poorly planned succession.
At least it wasn't his generals this time, you know.
Well, at least he didn't lie on the ground and go, give my empire to the strong, which is supposedly what Alexander did.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Now, the Timurid Empire is reunited. It doesn't fall apart. It will last for 100 years after the death of its founder, Tamerlane. A man named Shah Rukh, Tamerlane's fourth and youngest son, the man who, under any law other than might makes right, would never have inherited this empire, takes out his family and establishes himself as the ruler.
Not fair.
Yeah. Now, Rock shares his father's predilection for art and architecture. Only he lacks his father's motivation to steal it. So instead, what he does is he moves the capital from Samarkand to Herat, one of the cities that Tamerlane had conquered, a little more centralized for his empire. And he proceeds to say, you know what? Tamerlane beautified Samarkand with war. I'm going to beautify Herat with everything that he conquered. I'm going to pull from it and I'm going to build it. And he becomes known as a major patron of the arts. It would, however, be the repeated familial infighting that happens every single time a Timurid Khan dies that will kill this empire. Because apparently might makes right is the only Mongolian succession plan in existence.
I mean, it really does not bode well if you're trying to leave a legacy.
Yeah. Very poor longevity does make sure that whoever gets in charge will be very well equipped to handle the problems by being an absolutely ruthless monster. Lack of a better term there. But Tamerlane, he's not done. He's not a man to let being
He's dead.
stop him from doing shit. In fact, he's not even a man to let the total collapse of his empire stop him from doing shit. His lovely little tomb in Gur-e Amir will remain undisturbed for 500 years on the understanding that that is where he is buried and no one wants to mess with it. However, in 1941, the Soviet Archaeological Commission uncovers this tomb. And there's allegedly 2 inscriptions, one on the walls and one on his coffins. The walls read, "When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble." And the lid of his coffin, it states, "Whoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I." To confirm that this is Tamerlane, the Soviets open his tomb. They find a body missing 2 fingers on the right hand and with a largely heavily damaged pelvis on the right side, which matches the descriptions of Tamerlane's early crippling injuries of, losing the ability to walk in his right leg and to really use his right hand. 2 days after the Soviets open his tomb and uncover his body, Operation Barbarossa is launched. Now, this was the World War II invasion of the Soviet Union by Germany. This was one of the bloodiest acts of war in the bloodiest war in human history.
This is like the Soviet Sutton Hoo much, discovery, right? Like they're like, open the tomb, except much worse.
Yeah, they opened
like
the
much
tomb.
darker. This came with a curse.
Yeah, they opened the tomb and the curse appears to come true. Now, what's funny about this is they decide, the Archaeological Commission, to reinter the body after this happens.
There's like, put it back, put it back, put it back.
Yeah. And I believe within a week, the Soviets have won the Battle of Stalingrad after they returned Tamerlane to his tomb a few months after opening it.
I'm just saying.
There has not really been confirmation of the inscriptions. They're largely urban legends for the most part, but the level of timing surrounding it and the fact that this man was precisely the sort of son of a bitch that would leave that sort of message behind and would absolutely set fire to anything Russian.
Yeah.
Being discovered by Russians.
Oh yeah, no, that he's you know what? I bet immediately after they close the tomb, they're like they could just hear is like a bunch of bones rattling because that's all that's left rolling in his grave. Like, I can't believe these fuckers opened my tomb and they're Russian.
Very, very Ark of the Covenant. He very much has a personal grudge against Russia, and he's like, "Yeah, no."
They're lucky like a skeletal hand did not just like reach out and grab one of them by the throat.
Yeah. Ironically, Operation Barbarossa sees the invasion of everything west of the Volga River for Russia, which was about 90 some percent of the Mongol territory of the Golden Horde. Was that part of Soviet Russia. And so just like, oh no. He took it from you and he gave it to your worst enemy.
Nice.
He's taking this personally. Man has been
Maybe we should call
longer
it there.
than most empires, and he's still fighting you.
But I think we should probably call it there, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. If you guys enjoyed, let us know in the comments down below. Let us know your thoughts. Now, one last moment before we leave. I'm going to need what your favorite Khan is so far. I'm gonna go for
Honestly,
Kublai.
yeah,
Oh, that was kind of one that I was wanting to pick too.
yeah.
But
I like Kublai. I like Kublai a lot too. He's very fun. He's the Chinese Khan. And he's kind of like the last great Khan before the Chinese ministry gets a hold of him.
I'm thinking Chagatai.
Mm. Chagatai is a good one. There's a there's a lot of very fun ones. Kublai would have been my choice for it. Just I like him a lot. He does a very good job of not falling apart when everything seems to be falling apart.
Also,
Subutai didn't become a Khan, did he?
Who
Oh
doesn't become
well.
Khan?
Subutai, does he?
Sugatai?
Um,
Uh, Subutai. He was a general for Ogadai and Genghis. I don't think he becomes a Khan in his own
okay.
right. I'm thinking of the because he was. Yeah, no, I don't think he becomes a Khan.
Okay, I was
But he
wondering.
is he is I believe he is a master general though. He is you know he's one of those generals that doesn't become president.
Yeah. That, well,
so he's a General Kenobi. Got it.
yeah. All
Yeah.
right. So we should
Yeah.
probably go ahead and head out now.
So thank you guys for watching. Let us know your thoughts down below. We'll see you in the next one.